Hi, I'm Don Mooers, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The 2015 session of the Maryland Legislature started with a bang. A speech by our new governor, a Republican, to the House of Delegates and state senates, which are dominated by Democrats. David Rodich, the Executive Director of SEIU Local 500, will tell us all about it, give his ideas on the new start to the Maryland General Assembly. Medical devices are now part of many healthcare solutions that doctors offer to their patients. Henry Hailstock, who comments for us on a regular basis, has this story. The Executive Director of Interfaith Works, a mainstay of our nonprofit community, has now worked there, a number of months. He was here just after he started the last time he was on the show. Shane Rock is going to tell us how his initial responses may have changed, or his reactions in the county, and where his mind is now. The 15 members of the board, comprising the Board of Directors of Montgomery Community Media, MCM, our very news station or media conglomerate where this program airs, now has a new vision for MCM's place in the community. Merlyn Reineke, Executive Director of MCM, is here to explain and tell us what's on the agenda for this Montgomery Community Media. David, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Don. Thanks.
My gosh, the difference couldn't be any starker, could it? This year's State of the State address compared to last year's State of the State.
Well, you called it a bang, I called it a thud.
Wow.
I mean, you know, this governor was elected, and I think all of us, both stakeholders and members of the legislature that I speak with, really wanted to take a very pragmatic view of this, right? He's been elected.
He's going to be there for 4 years.
That's right. So let's try to get together, try to find ways of compromising and, you know, protect interests all the way around, right, and take a really great state and make it greater over the next 4 years. This governor has not stopped campaigning since the day of the election. And I think that the State of the State speech was a prime example of that. He spent the entire time, you know, not only criticizing the O'Malley administration, which we view as one that was frankly very successful given the economic environment we were all working in, and the state legislature, and they were and his message was that Maryland was a failed state. Nothing could be further from the truth.
You know, what's interesting when you talk about the campaigning, politicians on either side, it's half of why the other side shouldn't be elected, half why I should be elected as a candidate. But you come in, I mean, we normally see as soon as the campaign's over, they kiss and make up with the opponent if there is that opportunity. And then you roll up your sleeves and say, look, it's no longer a campaign. We've got a state or we've got a territory to govern. That's not happening, is it?
Look, we not only elected a conservative governor, we also elected the most progressive state legislature the state has seen in a very, very long time. As the leader of this state, it really rests with the governor to try and set a bipartisan tone, to acknowledge differences, but take a viewpoint that we're going to work together and bridge them, right? You don't bridge a difference with me by reminding me every second you can that you think that I've been nothing but a miserable failure for the last 8 years. And that seems to be his message.
Well, you know, it's sort of like a headstrong attitude. You've seen these all-star ball players that come on the field say, it's me and not the team. And he's soon going to learn that he needs the team, the assembly, to get done what needs to be done here in Maryland. But some of his ideas, as far as getting things done here, is going to truly be detrimental to the Maryland State. Education for one, health another.
Well, David, let me ask you this: education. I mean, haven't there been some recent polls taken about education and Marylanders on both sides supporting education, wondering about what he's doing?
It is, in my view, and I think in the view of many, education is the crown jewel of the state. This governor says that he values education. The first thing he did was propose a budget that a 50% cut in GCEI money.
What's that?
Well,
what's
it's the geographic cost of education index, right? Okay. For Montgomery County, in practical terms, that is a $17 million cut in state aid right off the top. That's going to mean larger class size. That's going to mean reduction in services at a time when the student population is growing in this county, and we're trying to close an achievement gap, right? The resources to accomplish that.
An achievement gap that's cost maybe the life of the superintendents going out of the work in that.
Well,
or whatever,
amongst other things, right? But I think the thing is that if this governor sees education as a top priority, I can tell you that that's a shared interest that a lot of people have. You don't try to find a middle ground by the first thing you do is coming in and frankly indicting the education system, right, and immediately cutting the resources to sustain it without even as much as a conversation.
What has failed to be realized for a lot of leaders is that yes, the population is going to be increasing as far as the education here in the county, but also it's going to be tremendously diversified. And with that diversification, it has to work with, you have to have more resources relating to understanding English as a second language, for one, and bringing up the reading and math scores for a lot of the students that we need.
I'd make one final point on this, right? There have been Republican governors that have been very successful, right, in very, very blue states.
Right.
They're smart enough to recognize, some of them, that they didn't come into this election with a mandate, right? They came in because amongst the choices they had in front of them, that was the better choice, right, for folks.
For a
if
majority
this
of the
governor
voters
makes the mistake of thinking that the core values of this state and of this electorate in general goes out the window because he won an election, I think he's going to be in for a very, very rude awakening.
Well, I can't wait to have you back on the show, Dave.
I can't wait to be
keep
back.
on this thing
Right.
and discussing this and seeing how they progress.
To be continued.
To be continued. Thanks. Henry Hailstock, welcome back.
Thank you.
So we're talking about devices that are now going to be a part or already a part of many of our worlds as we get older, especially. What are some of these things?
Right now on a limited basis, because it's still in the clinical testing, and only a few people have been able to take advantage of some of these things. And I'm only going to mention 3 of them because I think that's only we're going to have time for it, because I know that there can be a lot of concerns and questions about that. The first one is a wireless pacemaker.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this wireless pacemaker is about the size of a large vitamin pill. Okay, and it is intended to help those individuals who have the what you call bradycardia, and I'm not talking about Brady and New England Patriots. I'm talking about this who have the slow, irregular heartbeat, which causes you faint, causes shortness of breath.
So how do you control? So it's wireless, so it can be controlled. You control it yourself. The doctor's controlling it.
Well, it will control itself. What happens is that it is threaded through an artery going through your groin, and it is attached to your heart muscle.
Right.
Okay, and that now it's only been used right now for stimulating one of the heart valves.
Okay.
Okay. So individuals with this bradycardia condition will be useful for. Okay. And I think that it will break through eventually.
Why don't you mention the other 2, and then we can have a discussion.
Well, the other one you would say is a high-tech DNA test.
Okay.
Now, this is a test that can do multiple diagnosis of infectious diseases through a computer that can sort through millions of the disease DNA fragments within minutes and be able to diagnose them right quickly. It is intended to basically, let's say, right now you can only really do one disease at a time. Okay. Which is like going through finding a needle through the haystack.
Right.
And the the software that has been developed can go through the haystack and pick out those needles which are can match up to the
Okay.
patient's blood sample.
Okay.
The other one is really like a hybrid hearing aid.
Okay.
or,
Cochlear thing.
Yes.
Right.
The
Inside.
cochlear implant.
Built.
Yes, but you know this is only for those individuals who have a problem, can only hear a low-pitched sounds,
Okay.
but have a problem with high-pitched sounds.
Okay.
And really this is caused by loud noises, heredity,
Okay.
illnesses,
Okay.
and the like.
Let's pause right there. Anybody come in? I mean, it's pretty
Well,
exciting stuff.
obviously, I mean, biosciences is huge here in Montgomery County. Employs a lot of individuals, a lot of more companies coming in. I mean, what are some of the impediments to businesses actually rolling it out? You say they're out in research development now, but what's slowing these things down?
As you know, testing, and that's why I said only a few people. And you really have to have a chronic, debilitative illness to really take advantage of some of this clinical testing. They're very cautious right now because they want to make sure that it really works well. And so far, the patients who have gone through these clinical testings with each one of the devices that I mentioned have really been successful. Particularly the one with the hearing
Okay.
is fantastic, and particularly the ones for the testing,
Right.
the high-tech testing for DNA.
Right.
I can give you examples. Have you had family members or friends who have gone through the hospital multiple times and can't find out what's
Sure.
wrong with them?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one of the testings that can go through the various diseases that come up with.
It seems like insurance companies might be very interested in that DNA testing information, though. And I mean, could it have a bad side in terms of creating a profile of someone and their susceptibility or the incidence of disease that they carry, if that were?
It could,
Privacy issue.
but
Yeah.
just think of the life-saving opportunities for individuals can be diagnosed with illnesses that regular medical treatments cannot.
We got about 30 seconds.
come up
David, you
with.
want to?
Yeah, I just want to say that I always marvel at the advances of science and technology. But as a consumer, what should I be aware of or thinking about?
About 10 seconds.
Well, make sure that the testing has been approved, okay, and that the devices are really, well designed and have gone through a number of live testing for
And
with
live
individuals.
testing. That's what we're doing here. Live testing. We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back. Shane Rock in the house. I don't know, I love saying that. So Shane, 6 months, right?
That's right.
Well, at Interfaith Works, Executive Director, thank you for continuing on. Wait for a second. You haven't run away
Not at
to
all.
the hills. What have you learned? What kind of lessons have you taken from these 6 months?
Well, first, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's great to be on the show again. The 6 months I've learned a number of important things. One really important one is that outside of Montgomery County, I think there's a lack of perception of the need in this county. And I think people look at the poverty rate in Montgomery County, it's about 6.6%, and say, well, that's a low rate. It actually is the fourth lowest rate in the state. But in terms of the number of people below the federal poverty line in Montgomery County, we have the fourth largest population in Maryland. And that's about 67,000 people struggling officially below the poverty line, and many tens of thousands more who are having just a really hard time making ends meet.
That number is larger than a number of counties.
That's correct.
Our number of those under the poverty line who are struggling day in, day out, many counties in the state of Maryland.
Maryland.
Marylanders don't, I mean, we often have this fight, and I don't know how much you've gotten it, with Baltimore.
That's right.
That Baltimore has all the issues, all the money should come from Montgomery County to serve Baltimore. And it's really tough in statewide commissions. We really need a lot of Montgomery Countyers on there to explain this. How do you explain to those who are not in Montgomery County the poverty issues that we have in
Well,
Montgomery?
you have to talk a little bit about the statistics and the cost of living here. You know, the estimate is that it costs more than $70,000, or a family needs to have an income of more than $70,000 a year, or family of four, to be able to afford to live in this county, partly driven by the cost of housing. And other things. So
But they can't do anything about it if they're going to be living here.
exactly, and these are people, you know, many of them, they've been living here for a long time and they've been struggling. So what we see is you know, what I'm coming to realize is we're seeing multi-generational poverty in Montgomery County. Families where they just haven't had the breaks, the opportunity to be able to help their children move out of poverty. And as we were talking about earlier with cuts to education, I mean, that is a key and essential element of being able to end poverty for individual families. Their kids have got to have a great education.
The other thing we have to remind ourselves is a couple of things. Number one, that 6% is not a static number, right?
That's right.
That's growing. We have a growing economic disparity in this county. You know, I'm often reminded that there are more students on free and reduced meals in Montgomery County than there are students in the entire Washington, D.C. school system.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So we can't just look at this from this juxtaposition of how does this county compare with Baltimore or any other jurisdiction. The rate of poverty growth in this county is significant.
Now, before you go on, we've got a website. People want to learn more about Interfaith Works.
Interfaith Works. Our website is iworksmc.org. iworksmc.org.
We got about a little less than 2 minutes. I know everybody wants to jump in on
Sure.
some questions. So what else have you learned?
Well, I've also, you know, I made a statement about ending homelessness on my first
Right.
appearance here, and I still believe that's possible in Montgomery County. On any given night, there are about 900 people who are homeless in this county. The vast majority of those people are in shelters. They're in a system moving them toward permanent housing. We still have some people who are living in their cars, living in the woods, living doubled up in homes. There is a tremendous effort on behalf of the federal government to invest in helping people who are homeless. This year, there's a goal of ending homelessness among veterans. By the end of next year, we're trying nationally to end homelessness among those who are considered who've been homeless for a long time, the chronically homeless. I think we can do those things in this county, and it's very
Can I
important.
add just one thing?
Yeah.
Is people
Go
don't
ahead, man,
realize that the homelessness is also caused by mental illness.
That's right.
Right.
And a number of people,
Right.
veterans particularly, who come back with all of these
PTSD and
yes,
everything else.
all
sure.
those, you know, find themselves out from their family, away from a lot of people because they
Right.
can't function properly.
That's right.
And so that means that we need more than what you're saying. We need mental health.
Right.
We need to come together as a community, all the various sectors, you know, employment, education, social services, all of these things, because we all have an interest in everyone being successful, everyone having an opportunity to be financially independent. By investing as a community in helping people who are struggling, we help the entire community be
It's
successful.
a team
That's-
effort.
What
It's
a great
team
way
effort.
to end. I wish we could go on, I mean, with all of your segments, but Shane, thank you for being here. We look forward to having
Thank
you
you.
come back and look forward to continuing your scorecard as you continue to keep doing great work as
Thank you,
Executive
Don.
Director.
Appreciate it.
Merlyn, the Montgomery Community Media gets to tell the story of these perspectives, the story of what Montgomery County is doing today and hopefully what it's going to be doing tomorrow. You've got a new board. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're excited about that.
And
Well,
congratulations also on all the great things that continue to happen at Montgomery Community Media under your leadership.
well, I appreciate that. I mean, we've been around for 30 years now. 2015 is the 30th anniversary of our television channel's launching, and the fact is, you know, technology is really catching up with our mission of our organization. I think people are using media in all sorts of different ways.
Let's not
and-
think
yeah.
that technology is catching up with the mission of our organization.
Yeah.
What a great way to put it.
Stuart Garfinkel of our staff put that together. And I think it's a great way of illustrating what we're kind of about and where we're going and the things we're being successful in. Because it's not just about television anymore. People are watching media and consuming media on all sorts of different devices, anytime, anywhere. And so as an organization that works with community producers, I think we really have to instill in all of our staff and all of the volunteers who serve the organization to understand going beyond the television and engaging with the audience in this two-way communications is vital.
One of the missions that I'm hoping that MCM will launch is the put MCM's website on everyone's favorites in the favorites list on every mobile device, every home device in this county. So let's start that right now. What's the website?
So the web address is mymcmedia.org, and if you've not been there before, or if you haven't seen it for a couple of years, I think you'll be surprised to see the great relevant content that we have on there. We have a wonderful multi-platform team led by Sonia Burke here that works 7 days a week around the clock putting Montgomery County-centric content there, in addition to all the great volunteers and access producers and bloggers in the community who are also giving their vision and voices to the website as well.
Yeah, before, and we're going to want to talk about the board and all this stuff, but we've got the big day coming up in April again. We want to get some momentum going behind that as well of a day in Montgomery County.
So April 22nd will be our third round of A Day in the Life of Montgomery County, where it's really a snapshot of what's going on in our community for a 24-hour period happening in real time. So we're all probably familiar with Day in the Life projects where books and calendars and things come out, but this happens in real time in one 24-hour period. So we're encouraging all residents of Montgomery County, where they live, where they work, where they go to school, to participate by sending us their photos, their videos of what's going on in their world.
You know, I'm amazed by the programming that this organization has, but I still have a concern about the general public knowing about it and knowing what to watch, when to watch it. Particularly this particular program here. I've always said, is there some way that we can have a guide so that we can look at it either on the TV screen or in our hands, printed, so that we will know what's going on, because people are truly, unless it's happenstance, tuned to these programs. They are entertaining, they're informative, and not just because I'm on this program, but really, I've seen a lot, and it helps culturally, you know, educate.
Bring us all
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
You know, it's like any other form of media, right? People don't drift to it. We have to proactively seek people, and, and it's great that we're doing really, really relevant programming. And so the question is, how, as a community, how do we direct people towards it? How do we get people to see spending a half hour watching this show, right, as a value-added proposition to
Merlyn.
their day?
Right. Well, one of the most important things I think people can do as far as finding the content that Henry was talking about is it's through Verizon. Verizon currently doesn't include information about the programs that we air here on MCM. And so if you are a Verizon customer, we would encourage you to contact the Verizon folks and let them know you want information on the program guide included in there. You can certainly go to the website, you can certainly go to other sources and find the great things that we're doing here, not just our programming but our classes, but there are other ways I think that people will gather and find information about shows, and it needs to be available everywhere.
Don't forget to contact Comcast as well.
Let them
Yeah,
know.
let them know.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think we've got a couple things. We got put MCM on your favorites, and let's get this campaign with Verizon and Comcast, because amen to everything you've said. I think looking at Interfaith Works, I mean this is such a great opportunity for you all.
It's a fantastic opportunity. This really lets us reach the public, and I love it. I'm a Verizon customer, and I will contact them.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
We've got 45 seconds. We've got to get to your board.
Yes,
We've got to say
absolutely.
good things about your board members.
Right, absolutely. So we have a new 15-member board. Jeffrey Slavin, Mayor of Somerset and local businessman, is our new president. But we have a number of at-large members, 12 at-large seats, in addition to 3 elected from the access users. So it's a great diverse board, great background and experiences, and we're delighted to have them be a part of the organization.
A big change, as I see it, is that it was much more of an insider baseball board before, and now you've reached out to the community much more.
Right. It's really based on best practices. We're a nonprofit organization, and to think that you really need that diversification, diversity of inputs and skill sets on a board to be successful, that's really what's required. And so I'm so glad we're able to make these changes.
All right. Well, continued best wishes and good luck. What a great operation you've got.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for joining me today. I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers, inviting you to join us next week at this very same time.